Chidi, the kingdom of God on earth, living the teachings of Jesus. Jesus Christ came to teach us about the kingdom of God, a kingdom of love, justice, and peace. He didn't come to promise wealth or material success. He came to show us how to live in harmony with one another, how to love our neighbors, and how to bring God's will to earth. Yet, today, many religious leaders focus on personal gain, wealth, and self-interest, rather than the message of love and compassion that Jesus preached. It's important to remember that Jesus was not a Christian, nor was he a Muslim. Christianity is a religion formed after his time, and Islam came centuries later. Jesus simply preached the gospel, the good news of God's kingdom. His message was not about creating a new religion but about calling people to live according to God's will, to love one another, and to seek justice and mercy in their daily lives. One of the most powerful lessons Jesus taught was through his parables. He told stories to explain deep truths, helping us understand the heart of God's kingdom. Take, for example, the parable of the Good Samaritan. In Luke 10:30-37, Jesus tells of a man who was beaten and left for dead. A priest and a Levite both passed by without helping, but a Samaritan, someone who was considered an outsider, stopped and showed compassion, caring for the man's wounds. Jesus asked, "Which of these three do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of robbers?" The answer was clear: it was the one who showed mercy. Go and do likewise, Luke 10:37. Jesus teaches us that love knows no boundaries, no divisions. It's not about what people believe or where they come from, it's about showing kindness and compassion to all. Jesus also explained the kingdom of God through simple but powerful parables. In the parable of the mustard seed, Matthew 13:31-32, he said the kingdom of God is like a tiny mustard seed that grows into a large tree, where birds can find rest. The message is clear: even the smallest acts of kindness, love, and faith can grow into something much greater. Jesus showed us that God's kingdom grows within us and spreads outward, not through power or wealth, but through humility and love. Another parable is that of the lost sheep, Luke 15:3-7, where Jesus tells of a shepherd who leaves his 99 sheep to find the one that's lost. This parable illustrates how much God cares for each individual. No one is left behind. In the same way, Jesus calls us to care for the lost, the forgotten, and the brokenhearted. His kingdom is one of mercy, where every person matters, and no one is left behind. But despite these clear teachings, many people still don't understand or choose to ignore them. They focus on material wealth, on power, and on divisions. Jesus' message was never about prosperity for oneself, it was about bringing God's love to the world. As he said in Matthew 6:33, "But seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well." True prosperity is in living according to God's will, not in earthly riches. Now, if we look at the world today, particularly the Western nations, we can see some reflection of this kingdom in their values and systems, even if they don't fully acknowledge Jesus as the source. Many Western governments try to create a society where justice, equality, and care for the poor are prioritized values that align with the teachings of Jesus. Whether it's through social welfare programs, human rights laws, or the idea of democracy that strives to treat all people equally, there's a connection to the heart of what Jesus was preaching about, the kingdom of God here on earth. Jesus said in Matthew 6:33, "But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well." He was telling us that the priority in our lives should be living according to God's will, seeking his kingdom, which is a kingdom of love, peace, and justice. When we live this way, we begin to see a reflection of that kingdom on earth, in the way we treat one another, in how we serve those in need, and in how we work to create a world of fairness and unity. Jesus also taught us that the kingdom of God is not something distant, far off, or just something we wait for in the afterlife. He said in Luke 17:21, "The kingdom of God is in the midst of you." This means that God's kingdom is here and now, within us, and it is up to each of us to live in a way that brings this kingdom to life. It's not about waiting for a future event, it's about living today in a way that reflects God's love and justice. It's also important to remember the many parables that Jesus told to explain the nature of this kingdom. Take the parable of the mustard seed, Matthew 13:31-32, Jesus said the kingdom of God is like a tiny mustard seed that, despite its small size, grows into something large and impactful. This teaches us that even the smallest acts of love, kindness, and justice can grow into something far greater, transforming the world around us. Similarly, the parable of the lost sheep, Luke 3-7, shows how much God values every individual. Jesus told of a shepherd who left his 99 sheep to find the one that was lost. This illustrates God's love for each person, no matter how far they've gone astray. The kingdom of God is a place where no one is left behind, and everyone is cared for. As we continue to think about the kingdom of God, it's clear that the values Jesus taught about love, mercy, justice, and compassion are timeless. They are not confined to one religion or nation but are universal principles that can shape every society. As we see in many Western nations, the effort to live justly, care for the poor, and ensure equality for all is a reflection of the values that Jesus taught, even if the world doesn't always recognize it as his kingdom. Yet, despite these positive efforts, we must always remember that Jesus' teachings are not just about creating better systems in government or society, they are about transforming individuals from the inside out. The kingdom of God begins in our hearts. It is not something that can be legislated or forced, it must be chosen and lived out by each of us, through our actions of love, service, and kindness. Let's not forget Jesus' words in Matthew 5:3-10, where he tells us, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God." These are not just blessings for a future time, they are instructions for how we should live now, embodying the values of God's kingdom in our everyday lives. The kingdom of God is not about building empires or accumulating power or wealth. It's about creating a world of peace, love, and justice where everyone is treated with dignity, and where the weak are cared for. This is the message Jesus taught, and it is a message that still holds the power to change the world today. So, let us follow Jesus' example, let us love, serve, and care for one another, and together, we can bring the kingdom of God to earth. Chidi.